all sorts of other things to consider, but those are some things. Ryan Compton says, can you explain how Ephesians 5:25 is a particularly masculine command? Many verses, including John 15:12 and 13, call all believers to love one another sacrificially. Ephesians 5:25. So how is this particularly masculine? Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. I think what everybody should recognize is it's obviously masculine by virtue of it simply saying, husbands, love your wives. This word husbands cannot apply to wives. This word wives cannot apply to husbands. So there's definitely something going on there. And when you look at the whole passage, you'll see there's separation of responsibilities here. Husbands are to love their wives as Christ loved the church. Wives are called to submit to their husbands. Let's look at that. Wives, submit to your own husbands as to the Lord, for the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church. So, is that saying that the wife isn't supposed to love her husband? Well, no. I think that God wants us to be smart enough to recognize that. Yeah, wives are called to love husbands. Husbands are called to love wives. But in the relationship between a husband and wife, where she submits to his authority, there is a special call to a husband that he must self-sacrificially love his wife. Why is that special? Because him having authority is a potential for him to oppress or harm her, and so especially him who has authority must self-sacrificially love the one whom he has authority with. So the wife has to submit, but the husband, you better love her, sacrificing yourself, your desires, your wants, your comfort for her benefit. That is how you will lead properly. If he doesn't do that, if he doesn't emphasize this with husbands, then they're going to be bad husbands. It's going to hurt their marriage, and it's going to hurt the representation of Jesus and the church. Look at how Jesus, while he's in charge of the church, right? More so than a husband is in charge of in a greater sense, Jesus is completely and utterly in charge of all things with the church. The husband has a leadership role with his wife, but it's not perfectly parallel, even though the Bible does parallel them to an extent. But look at Jesus. The way that he leads us, it also involves at its heart his self-sacrificial love for us. He goes to the cross for us, dies for us, rises again. A husband is to follow that as well. It's especially masculine because what's especially needed among leaders is that they're not concerned about themselves, but they're very concerned about those that they lead. They're not focused upon their wants and desires and agendas and goals, but they're very much concerned, not just about the wants and desires, but the benefit, the nutrition, the health, the well-being of those they lead. Right? So then, I think that answers the question.